You tell yourself you're lazy. But notice something carefully. You don't procrastinate everything. You procrastinate the things that would make you visible. The email that puts your ideas on record. The post that shows your thinking. The application that could change your status. It's not effort you're avoiding. It's exposure. You can scroll for hours without resistance. You can reorganize your workspace. You can research endlessly. But the moment something requires you to say, "This is mine," your energy drops. Your body slows down. Your mind finds another task. That shift isn't random. There's a specific tension that appears right before you finish something. It's subtle, a tightness in your chest, a thought that says, maybe it's not ready. That thought feels responsible, even mature, but it's often fear disguised as standards. Unfinished work feels safe because it lives in potential. Potential can't be judged. It can't fail publicly. It exists in imagination, where you control the outcome. Once it's released, it becomes real, and real things can be rejected. You might not consciously think, "I'm afraid of being seen." Instead, you think, "I just need more discipline." But discipline isn't the missing piece. If it were laziness, you wouldn't feel this much internal conflict. This pattern quietly affects your identity. You start calling yourself inconsistent. You compare yourself to people who just do it. Over time, the story becomes personal. Maybe I'm just not built for this. That story hurts more than the original fear. In psychology, avoidance is rarely about the task itself. It's about the predicted emotion attached to the task. Your brain isn't asking, "Is this productive?" It's asking, "Is this safe?" When you imagine posting your work or stepping forward, your brain runs a rapid simulation. What will they think? What if it's average? What if they expect more next time? That simulation activates your threat detection system. The amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for detecting danger, doesn't differentiate well between physical threat and social threat. Rejection, embarrassment, or status loss can light up similar neural pathways as physical pain. So when you consider being seen, your nervous system responds as if you're stepping into potential social exile. Historically, exclusion from the tribe meant vulnerability. Your brain still carries that wiring. That's why the resistance feels physical, not logical. You don't just decide not to act. You feel drained, foggy, distracted. This is your nervous system, lowering activation to reduce exposure. Avoidance works in the short term. The moment you delay, anxiety drops. Your body relaxes. That relief teaches your brain something powerful. Avoidance equals safety. This is classic negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement doesn't mean punishment. It means removing discomfort. You avoid the visible action, the anxiety decreases, and your brain strengthens the avoidance pathway. The loop becomes automatic. Over time, though, another cost appears. Every unfinished project chips away at your self-trust. You start doubting your follow-through. The real damage isn't lost productivity, it's identity erosion. Here's the contradiction. The more you avoid being seen, the more you fear you have nothing worth seeing. Avoidance slowly convinces you that you lack substance, when in reality, you're protecting it. Often this pattern has roots. Maybe when you were younger, visibility came with criticism instead of support. Maybe success raised expectations you couldn't maintain. Your brain learned that attention equals pressure. In personality theory, this overlaps with evaluative sensitivity, a trait where people are highly attuned to how they're perceived. It's not weakness. It's heightened social awareness. But without regulation, it turns into self-censorship. Think of your brain as a smoke detector. Its job is to detect danger early, but sometimes it becomes overly sensitive. Burnt toast, and the alarm screams as if the house is on fire. Visibility can feel like burnt toast to your nervous system. The solution isn't ripping out the smoke detector, it's recalibrating it. That means teaching your brain that being seen does not automatically lead to catastrophe. The first principle is controlled exposure. Instead of leaping into massive visibility, you introduce small, manageable moments of being seen. This works because gradual exposure reduces amygdala reactivity over time. For example, instead of launching a big public project, share a rough draft with one person you trust. Your brain predicts danger. When the danger doesn't materialize, prediction error occurs. And prediction error is how the brain updates. The second principle is separating identity from output. When you fuse who you are with what you produce, feedback feels like a verdict on your worth. That activates defensive emotional circuits. By consciously saying, "This is something I made, not who I am," you create psychological distance. Cognitive reappraisal engages the prefrontal cortex, which helps regulate emotional intensity. The third principle is finishing imperfectly on purpose. Perfectionism keeps you in the refinement phase, which feels productive but delays exposure. Completion interrupts the avoidance loop. When you complete something at 90% instead of 100%, your nervous system experiences exposure without catastrophic outcome. Repetition of this experience rewires expectation. The fourth principle is tracking evidence. Your brain has a negativity bias. It overestimates threat and underencodes neutral outcomes. Writing down what actually happened corrects distorted predictions. If you post something and nothing disastrous occurs, document it. If you speak up and the world doesn't collapse, record it. Evidence competes with imagination. The fifth principle is shifting focus from evaluation to contribution. When attention is self-focused, anxiety increases. When attention shifts to helping or contributing, social threat perception decreases. Instead of asking, "How will they judge me?" ask, "Who might this serve?" This engages pro-social motivation systems, which reduce self-referential rumination. Over time, these small changes retrain your brain's predictive model. The question shifts from "Is this safe?" to "Is this meaningful?" That shift is subtle but powerful. You won't eliminate fear completely. The nervous system is designed to detect uncertainty, but you can lower its sensitivity through repetition and evidence. Each visible action becomes data. Each completion becomes proof. Slowly, the internal narrative changes from "I can't handle being seen" to "I survived being seen." And that difference builds self-trust. Self-trust is not confidence in outcome. It's confidence in your ability to handle outcome. When self-trust increases, avoidance decreases naturally. Not because you forced yourself, but because the threat prediction weakened. Remember the smoke detector. You didn't silence it. You adjusted it. Now it activates for real fires, not imagined ones. The identity shift happens quietly. You stop calling yourself lazy. You start recognizing patterns. Awareness replaces self-judgment. You realize the unfinished drafts weren't proof of incapability. They were evidence of protection. Your brain was trying to keep you safe. But safety without growth becomes confinement. Potential without exposure becomes frustration. At some point, the cost of hiding outweighs the fear of being seen. The next time resistance appears, pause before labeling it laziness. Ask instead, "What am I predicting will happen if I'm visible?" That question interrupts the loop. It turns unconscious fear into conscious awareness. And awareness is the first step in retraining a brain that learned somewhere along the way that being seen was dangerous.